Greetings to all of you. I want to focus today on the upcoming super full moon on October 17th. But before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the importance of our holding these lunar cycles and these current planetary energies in a larger context. I've been diving more deeply into the profound meaning of the precessional cycle and what it means that we're shifting out of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And we're at the end of one precessional cycle, the beginning of a new one. And from the Hindu Yuga cycle perspective, we're moving out of the Kali Yuga, the time of forgetting, the time when we as humanity move to our lowest level of consciousness. We're now moving in an accelerated way into more higher consciousness. And in a few weeks, I'm going to be talking with Bibhu Deb Misra about his book, Yuga Shift, about the profound meaning of the fact that we are exiting out of this Kali Yuga period as of March 2025. I also will be talking next week with Barbara Hand Clow, who's written that brilliant book, Alchemy of the Nine Dimensions, that she's now revised and come out with a new version of that to guide us in how we can understand these different dimensional levels and our states of consciousness. And I think it is critical as we're moving through this intense transition time on the planet that we attune to our own level of consciousness and remember that these energies that we're talking about in the lunar cycle, and I'm going to be talking today about this profound opposition between Pluto and Mars that we're moving into, all of these are set in this larger context of this journey that we go through as humanity in this 24,000 year precessional cycle, and how understanding that larger context can guide us in understanding the meaning of these times that we're in now and how we can navigate them in the most conscious way possible. I truly believe this is a profound time on the planet, and we are seeing the turbulence that comes with being in this transition time. And we are seeing this polarization between the shadow aspects of humanity and this increasing acceleration into higher consciousness that we are capable of and that this time is calling us into. So I want to begin in upcoming videos to give more of a sense of this larger context that we're in and some practical ways that we can be working our own process to move into these higher states of consciousness, to navigate this liminal time that we're in that can feel so turbulent and chaotic as we're in this ending of one age, beginning of a new one, the demise of the paradigms of the past without quite yet knowing what the new forms are. So I really want us to continue to support each other in this and be in an ongoing conversation together about how we navigate this profound time of shift. But let's come back to this supermoon that's coming on October 17th as we have this very powerful full moon in Aries. And let me show you the chart. As you can see, we're moving into this full moon when the moon will be at 24 degrees of Aries, opposite the sun at 24 degrees of Libra. And what's particularly significant is this full moon is part of a cardinal grand square with Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn, opposite Mars at 22 degrees of Cancer. Now, as I said earlier, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth video about this profound opposition between Pluto and Mars that we're just beginning to move into at the time of the full moon. But it will be within a 5-degree orb starting a few days later, October 20th. And then Mars will continue in this dance, this opposition with Pluto through mid-January, January 17th. So these next few months are a very powerful time as we're experiencing some of these energies, and in particular, these powerful energies with Pluto and Mars. They're now 7 degrees apart, but again, on October 20th, they move within a 5-degree orb, but they're already getting activated, being a part of this grand square. Let's try to unpack the meaning of this. And again, as we work with these energies, when we can listen to the messages, the guidance of the stars and planets for us in this time, they are helping us in our path of evolution. They are guiding us in how to heal, how to awaken, how to move into higher consciousness. So be careful as you attune to these energies that you don't get caught in fear about the shadow aspects of these planetary energies. Many people get very activated by hard aspects between Pluto and Mars. Now, these can be, and this is something that I work with a lot when I do readings, hard aspects between Pluto and Mars can be a trauma signature. It can indicate something disruptive or a profound shift that's taking place in some way, individually or collectively. But as we unpack the signs that these planets are in and where they are in the sky, it is profound to see that they are not guiding us into a time of intensity, turbulence, reactivity, trauma. They're actually trying to guide us into a healing transformation, individually and collectively. And let me show how that is underscored by the Sabian symbols of these 4 in this grand square. We'll start with the moon at 24 degrees of Aries. And the meaning of that in the Sabian symbols is about the importance of allowing higher forces to shape our lives and to envision what we hope to experience. Remember that Aries is that energy of new forms, of moving in new directions, taking initiative. And it's very significant that the North Node is in Aries, and I've talked a lot about this dynamic with the South Node in Libra. How do we come back into balance, Libra, to move into new forms, North Node in Aries. And now we have the moon in Aries, conjunct Erisina, and conjunct Chiron. So the energy of this configuration is about healing Chiron, opening to moving in new directions, Erisina, stepping off the conventional, consensual ways of doing things and perceiving things, to be, as the moon is talking about, allowing our lives to be shaped by higher forces that guide us in envisioning what we hope to experience. This full moon is supporting us in imagining, visualizing this new earth that we want to co-create together, visualizing a planet in harmony. We've got the sun in Libra, the South Node in Libra. How are we activating our own consciousness, intent, and energy at the time of this super full moon to visualize what we want to move into, what would allow ourselves individually and collectively to come back into balance, into harmony, into right relationship with all that is. So, this is the meaning of this full moon. It's opposite the sun at 24 degrees of Libra. And the meaning of that is about honoring the uniqueness in ourselves and in others, moving beyond ego to be in relationship with ourselves and others from compassion. Think about it. This full moon is saying, honor who you are, honor the uniqueness and diversity of everyone around you, be in right relationship with yourself and with others so that we can visualize these new creative forms, these new paradigms and ways of being that we are moving into as we move into the Aquarian age, as we move out of this time of darkness on the planet and into the light of consciousness. That whole theme of relationship is strong in this chart, in that Juno is right conjunct the sun, about how we're in right relationship with those that we are most deeply connected to in committed love relationships. Lilith is close to the South Node, relationships that are in deep mutuality. We have Venus at 29 degrees of Scorpio. How are we honoring being in relationship at a deep level? And Venus is opposite Uranus at 26 degrees of Taurus, being in right relationship, being in relationships that are about truth, that are about a deep commitment and honoring of the uniqueness of who we each are and the truth of who we are. But coming back to this grand square, let's complete the meaning of the Sabian symbols by looking at the meaning of Mars and Pluto. Pluto is at 29 degrees of Capricorn, and as we've talked about in earlier videos, it has been at this anaretic degree of 29 degrees of Capricorn since September 2nd, and it will be there through November 19th, when then on November 20th, it shifts fully into the sign of Aquarius. I do believe that Pluto in this final degree of Capricorn, and I see the 29th degree as a shamanic degree. It's moving between the energies of two signs. It's guiding us in this transition and transformational process. And I truly believe that Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn is helping us to see Capricorn, the systems and structures that need to change, that need Pluto to be in a process of transformation in order for us to move into new forms and systems in our global community together. And Pluto at the 29th degree of Capricorn means, this is the Sabian symbol, we need spiritual wisdom at the highest level of leadership in collective affairs. So Pluto, with this profound energy of deconstructing what no longer serves us, what's out of balance, at 29 degrees of Capricorn, is calling us in to looking to those leaders who can guide us with spiritual wisdom. We need to take responsibility for our own process and be empowered in our own sovereignty. But we also need, in terms of how we're looking at our communities, whether it's at the local level, the national level, the global level, are we empowering ourselves to choose and support those who are coming from a place of spiritual wisdom and, in terms of this grand square, compassion and being in right relationship, understanding that meaning of balance and harmony in how we live in relationship with each other, in relationship with the natural resources of the earth, in right relationship with all that is. Think about how many elections are happening around the globe this year. And in this time, what these energies of the what these planetary energies are calling us to focus on is who can guide us from a place of spiritual wisdom. This is opposite Mars, which is at 22 degrees of Cancer. And the Sabian symbol for that is about honoring the language of image and metaphor, the language of spirit, guiding us to harmonize our inner and outer realities. So, how do we pay attention to those ways in which spirit is guiding us, speaking to us, showing us Mars how to act and to move forward, how to be in this transformational time in a way that is harmonizing our inner and outer realities? I think it's critical in this time of turbulence and transition and transformation that we each are taking responsibility for our own process, for how we are in our own process of healing, clearing the blocks that we need to clear so that we can move into these states of higher consciousness that we're being guided into. Remember that we're in this time of solar maximum where we're having increasingly strong solar flares. We're also in this time where we're moving through a galactic plane that is not only lowering our magnetic shields, the sun, the earth, our solar system, but is activating this influx of cosmic energies, solar energies that are transforming us. And I think part of the intensity of this time is it is activating changes in our DNA. It is activating our pineal glands. It is awakening us. It's calling us into higher consciousness. But because of the intensity of these energies, it can also activate increasing imbalance in those who aren't working this time consciously. So we're seeing a lot of acting out, a lot of people becoming more and more unstable, a lot of illusion, delusion, reactivity, increased violence. This is a stormy time. In fact, with this movement we're going through this galactic plane, it's also causing increasing storms on all the planets in our solar system. And we're seeing those increasing storms here on Earth. And I think it is the way the Earth and our cosmos is saying, wake up, clear the blocks, clear what's out of balance. It's a time of reset. It's a time to call us into awakening and into what we need to do individually and collectively to move back into balance and to be moving into these new paradigms that are about community, collaboration, co-creating with the cosmos. So in a powerful way, this grand square is not about increasing that reactivity or violence or acting out. This powerful grand square is about our coming back into our own spiritual consciousness to harmonize our inner and outer reality, to visualize what we want to see our world move into, to visualize these new forms this new world that is about harmony, peace, compassion, truth, love. And then Pluto is encouraging us to deconstruct the forms that no longer serve us, to seek and support those who can step into leadership with spiritual wisdom. And Mars, how are we meant to act? We are meant to act in a way that's coming from compassion, Cancer, and coming from this honoring the language of spirit to harmonize our inner and outer realities. Let me show you a few other things in the chart, and then I want to show you where these are in the sky. As I was mentioning earlier, it's very significant that we have Uranus opposite Venus at this time. We also have the sun and moon in aspect to Jupiter, supporting us in Gemini, thinking about these new forms, paradigms, having faith in moving in these new directions. And I think it's also very significant that the moon is the midpoint between Uranus and Neptune and is squaring Pluto. So again, we have all three transpersonal planets at work here, guiding us back into truth and an understanding of natural law, Uranus and Taurus, guiding us to open to our intuition and our spiritual consciousness, open to compassion, to that understanding of divine love, the love of the cosmos, the oneness of all that is, Neptune and Pisces. So this is a very transformational energy that we're in at the time of this full moon. And again, we have this opposition with Pluto and Mars that will continue in opposition, moving into a 5-degree orb with each other as of October 20th. Then they will go into a more exact opposition at 29 degrees of Capricorn and 29 degrees of Cancer, November 1st through 3rd, as we move into the new moon on November 1st. And this is a powerful cross-quarter holiday time of the year. So this full moon is guiding us into a very powerful new moon, November 1st. And then towards the end of November, Pluto makes its movement fully into Aquarius. So this is an accelerated time of change that we're seeing. But again, the change that we're being called into is one of healing. Chiron has been very actively involved, as has Chariklo, in these important lunar cycles and transits. We're being called to clear the blocks and to move more into compassion, move more into higher consciousness, move more into how we can be in right relationship, first within ourselves, and then how we are in relationship with others. I think a theme in this full moon is about, whether it's at the leadership level or it's how we are dealing with our own lives, that Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn is calling us to deconstruct the out of balanced identification with ego, with our self-interest, with our being caught up in our own reality and disregarding how our actions, our words, our energies are impacting those around us. There's a way in which this Pluto-Mars opposition, remember, Pluto is the planet of alchemy, of transformation. It's calling us to burn away the shadow aspects of Mars that are about acting out in ways that we're disregarding the consequences or impact on others. It's calling us to be conscious of our actions, to be coming from compassion. So as you're working with the energies of this Mars-Pluto opposition, allow yourself to take time at the time of this full moon to reflect on your own actions and how are they coming from ego versus coming from compassion for yourself and compassion for others. How are we caught in the turbulence of this time and acting in reactivity? Or how are we coming to center, coming into alignment with our soul selves, into that awareness that we're being guided into these new paradigms, and then honoring and emanating that energy of balance and harmony to be embodying it and living it and acting from that place. One of the challenges with a grand square is that it's pulling us in different directions. That the key with a grand square is to bring these energies that are squaring each other into some kind of integration so that they're working together and not pulling you in different directions. And one powerful practice that I think is really helpful for doing that is the medicine wheel practice that I've talked about in other videos, that is about how we honor that circle with the four directions and think of those 4 points as a grand square. How do we walk that circle, honoring each of those 4 points, the four directions, the 4 points of the grand square, and then step into the center of the circle and realize we are not identified with any one of those. We don't have to be caught in those energies where there are ways they're squaring each other or opposing each other. They are all part of us. They are all part of this transformation that we're being called into. And when we come to center, when we stand in the center of the medicine wheel, then we can feel that alignment with the earth and sky, with our hearts, and find the balance in the energies of that grand square. So I encourage you to do that, whether you literally do that walking a medicine wheel or you stand in your own home and face the four directions. Think of these four energies of the grand square. Visualize yourself in the center, holding and integrating the gifts of each of them to bring them into this powerful combination that is guiding us in being supported by spirit to come back into harmony, to heal, to be able to move in new directions, to visualize this new earth, and then act from that place in service to others. But let's see where these energies are in the sky. Here is the full moon in the stars of Pisces, close to El Resha, the sacred knot that weaves together the two fish of Pisces. This sacred knot is about the weaving of polarities, the coming together of what is disparate. Again, this full moon is supporting us in feeling the energies of these higher forces shaping our lives and guiding us into unity in the midst of diversity, into reweaving our connections with each other, into honoring our differences, but coming back into right relationship. The moon opposite the sun, we see the sun now conjunct Spica in the sky. Remember that Spica in Virgo, Virgo is the harvest goddess holding the sheaf of wheat, which is where Spica is. This star is very much about how are we being of service to others? How are we using the light, the gifts within us to be supportive of others, be in service to others, be in right relationship with others? So again, in a powerful way, these energies are calling us into alignment with these stars that are supporting us in coming back into right relationship so that we can be compassionate with each other and be of service to each other and be of service in the world. I also want to show you where Mars is, since it's in such a critical position in this grand square and in opposition to Pluto. Mars is now here in the stars of Gemini, close to the star Wasset. And as it's in this dance with Pluto, in this opposition with Pluto across the next few months, it will be moving forward into the stars of Cancer and then retrograde back into the stars of Gemini. But I think it's interesting that it's moving into that opposition with Pluto close to this star Wasset, which is a part. Remember that Gemini is the image of the two twins, Pollux and Castor. Pollux is the twin representing the energy of light and immortality. Castor is the twin representing the energy of darkness, of mortality. And remember, Gemini is bringing them into relationship, bringing what's disparate and what's polarized back into connection. And Mars is in a next to Wasset. It's a shamanic star. It's about the creative capacity of expression of Pollux's energy. So Mars, again, is aligning with these energies of Pollux, of immortality, of light, to act in a way that is honoring our connection with spirit, harmonizing inner and outer reality, to act in compassion in our relationship with others, to bring unity in the midst of diversity. And here is Pluto opposite Mars in the sky. And I think what's significant about the placement of Pluto, you can see it's moving between the stars of Sagittarius and Capricornus, but it is in alignment with the star Altair in the constellation of Aquila. And Altair is in the stars of this constellation of the eagle. And the meaning of Altair is boldness and action in service to others, holding caring and compassion in relationships with others. So again, it's echoing this powerful theme that this Pluto-Mars opposition is not about violence, trauma, misuse of power. It is about how are we transforming our ways of being to honor being in harmony, in compassion, being bold in our action to be of service to others. There is so much intensity in our collective consciousness right now about polarization. There is so much disparity, even in terms of the reality that we're living in. There is so much going on that is about lies, disinformation, misinformation, conspiracy theories. It becomes a challenge to figure out what's true, what's real, what's illusion, what's falsehood. It's a turbulent time, and I think that's a reflection of our being in this liminal time between the age of Pisces and the age of Aquarius. I think it also is showing that as we're moving out of the age of Pisces, we're called both to integrate the gifts of that age, which are about reclaiming that mystical spiritual part of ourselves, remembering our connection to spirit and the oneness of all that is. But we're also, as we're exiting the age of Pisces, being called to clear the shadow aspects of Pisces, which are about getting caught in illusion, addiction, escapism, a disconnection from being grounded, a disconnection from reality. So we're seeing the storminess of that, Pisces, and we're seeing that both at the physical level and we're seeing that at the level of collective consciousness. I think that this grand square is helping us not only to move in new directions to Cardinal Grand Square, but to find that deeper understanding of the meaning of this turbulence so that we can be grounded in this awareness that we're being guided by forces larger than ourselves, the energies of the earth and the cosmos, the consciousness of the cosmos, to move into new paradigms, to disassemble and deconstruct the paradigms of the past, to step out of hierarchical, abusive, violent, power over patriarchal dynamics into a new understanding of community, into a new way of being in harmony with each other, into a new world. This supermoon is calling our attention to these energies of the planets and stars that are showing us the way. And it is about remembering the meaning of harmony and balance and right relationship, and embodying that and emanating that and activating it in how we live our lives and those that we support who are in positions of leadership. I think it's also significant that this full moon in Aries guiding us in how to visualize these new forms is between Uranus in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces. Remember that Uranus in Taurus is not only the archetype of truth, of justice, Uranus in Taurus, of natural law, but Uranus is that energy that cuts through illusion to help us see the truth. And in its opposition now with Venus, it's guiding us to be clear about what we most deeply value, Venus and Scorpio, but it's also calling us into being in connection, in relationship with those that meet us at that deeper level, helping us to feel supported in our true selves and able to see each other in the truth of who we are so that we can live out that truth in the world. Neptune in Pisces is guiding us to let dissolve our egos that are out of balance, to clear the patterns that need to be cleared, to allow ourselves to be in the flow of this process of change, to trust the guidance that's there through us, through our dreams, our intuition, the guidance of spirit, so that we are visualizing this new earth that we can move into together. Remember, if we get caught in fear and trauma and the drama that's playing out on the world stage, if we focus our intention on that, that is what we're energizing. I don't think it's about disconnecting from what's happening around us or disconnecting from our feelings of compassion or pain or concern about the incredible suffering that's happening on the planet right now. But I think it means finding our center in the midst of that storminess and then focusing our attention on aligning with the energies of the earth and sky to emanate this vision of what can be, of what we are being guided into by the energies of the earth and sky, so that we are energizing that. We are activating that. And with Pluto opposite Mars, supporting us in moving into these ways of being and ways of acting that are coming from harmony and compassion, Pluto will energize and activate and empower those ways that we are in alignment with those energies in the way that we're visualizing them and acting from those ways of being that are about compassion and truth and justice. and right relationship. Remember that Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, that when we're in that integration, and an opposition is ultimately calling us to integrate those energies and come to center. So the integration of Mars and Pluto is, how do I align my personal will, Mars, with divine will, with the will of cosmic consciousness, Pluto. Then we're empowered by those transpersonal energies, by those cosmic energies that are larger than ourselves, that can flow through us, and we can be vehicles of transformation, of compassion, of love, and wisdom in this profound time of change. So I'll be talking more in upcoming videos about this powerful Pluto-Mars opposition. But remember to listen to the deeper meaning of the archetypal energies of these planets so that we don't look at these transits and get caught in fear, Mars opposite Pluto, and then feel that they're about eruptions, disruptions, reactivity, violence, acting out, and then we visualize that, and then we energize that. Remember, this full moon is saying, really tune into what you visualize, where you put your energy, how you are aligning with the deeper meaning of these energies that are about harmony, compassion, integrating our inner and outer reality, coming back into right relationship, being guided by these energies of the earth and sky. I so appreciate the consciousness of this community, the way in which we are supporting each other in this. And in a recent comment on a video, someone asked me, what's the deeper point of what you're trying to say? And I thought, if I could summarize the themes in most of my recent videos, it would be that we are being called by these energies of the earth and sky to awaken, to heal, transform, and move into higher consciousness. Awaken, heal, transform, and move into higher consciousness. Because then we're in alignment with these energies of the age of Aquarius, what it means to be moving out of the time of ignorance, Kali Yuga, the time of darkness, into the light of consciousness and into the remembrance of how we can be in right relationship with each other and the earth and all of life. That is what we're being guided into. That is why we're here. That is how we can be co-creators with the cosmos to be developing this new world. Thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for being a part of this community. And may we take time at this full moon to meditate and be coming into that alignment, coming into that place of being centered in ourselves, to visualize this new world, to visualize the new earth. I would really encourage us all to take at least 15 minutes on October 17th and visualize this new earth that we're moving into together. The power of that can activate those energies in the collective consciousness and can guide us in this time of change. Blessings and love to all of you. Blessed be.